Gather round, folks, because today I'm sharing one of my all time favorite African folk tales, the story of the king with no ears. In a vibrant and bustling kingdom, there lived a king who was wise, fair, and deeply respected by all his people. But this king had a secret, a very big secret that he guarded more fiercely than his own crown. You see, the king had no ears, not even tiny little ones, none. To hide this, he always wore an enormous, magnificent turban, wrapped so perfectly that no one ever suspected a thing. He wore it to sleep, he wore it to eat, he even wore it while taking a bath. Now there was only one person in the entire kingdom who knew the king's secret, his royal barber. Once a year, the king would summon the barber to the most secluded room in the palace for a haircut. Before every trim, the king would look the barber dead in the eye and say, "You see my secret. If you breathe a word of it to anyone, you will pay with your life." The barber, trembling, would swear an oath of silence, and for years, the secret was safe. But a secret is a heavy thing to carry, especially one so juicy. The barber felt the secret growing inside him like a giant balloon, pushing against his ribs, begging to be let out. He started talking in his sleep, he lost his appetite, and he'd jump at the slightest noise. He knew he was about to burst, but he also knew what would happen if he did. He was trapped. One day, completely overwhelmed, the barber ran deep into the forest, far away from any people. He needed to tell someone or something before he went mad. He found a huge, ancient baobab tree with a hollow in its trunk. Desperate for relief, he put his mouth right up to the hollow and whispered, "The king has no ears. The king has no ears." He shouted it again and again, feeling the immense weight lift from his shoulders with every word. Ah, sweet relief. He felt lighter than air and skipped all the way back to his village, his secret finally released. A few weeks later, a group of traveling musicians passed through that same forest. They were looking for the perfect wood to make new drums for the annual royal festival. They spotted the massive baobab tree and thought it was perfect. They carefully carved a piece of its wood and crafted a beautiful deep-toned drum. The day of the festival arrived. The entire kingdom gathered in the palace courtyard, the king sitting on his throne, wearing his grandest turban yet. The traveling musicians began to play, and the crowd danced and cheered. Then it was time for the new drum solo. The lead musician stepped forward and struck the drum, but instead of a deep boom, the drum sang out in a clear, loud voice, "The king has no ears. The king has no ears." The musician, shocked, struck it again, and again the drum sang, "The king has no ears. The king has no ears." The music stopped, the crowd went silent, everyone stared at the king. The king froze, his face turning pale. The barber, standing in the crowd, thought his life was over. Slowly, shakily, the king raised his hands to his head. He began to unwind his turban. The crowd gasped as the colorful fabric fell away, revealing a smooth, completely earless head. There was a moment of stunned silence, and then the entire kingdom erupted in laughter. Not mean laughter, but warm, relieved laughter. Their wise and wonderful king was just like them, imperfect. From that day on, the king never wore his turban again. He ruled with his head held high, and his people loved him even more for his honesty. And as for the barber, he became the most trusted man in the kingdom. Because he taught everyone a valuable lesson. Some secrets aren't meant to be kept, and the truth, no matter how strange, can set you free. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from around the world. See you next time.